Do you think growing radishes requires a large garden bed to produce big, well-shaped roots? Today, I'm going to try two methods that both save space and reuse old materials to reduce waste and protect the environment. Growing radishes hydroponically in a plastic crate and growing them directly in plastic bags. Using the same type of radish and the same amount of growing time, which method will produce healthier plants, larger roots, and a bigger harvest? Watch until the end to see the actual results. Method 1. I have prepared 5 plastic crates here, each measuring 16 by 24 inches and 12 inches high. Because the crates have fairly large openings, I will cut small pieces of old sack material and use them to line the sides and bottom. This will help keep the soil inside and prevent it from falling out. As you can see, I have cut a 20-liter water container in half and prepared the bottom section. Now, I will place the plastic crate on top of it. Using old fabric from worn-out clothes, I will cut several narrow strips and thread them through the holes in the bottom of the crate, allowing the ends to hang down into the plastic water container. These strips will act as wicks, drawing water from the reservoir up into the growing medium in this self-watering system. For each crate, I will use about 3 to 4 absorbent wick strips. Once the plastic crate and the watering system are basically complete, I will begin filling the crate with soil. Radishes prefer loose, organic-rich soil that holds a moderate amount of moisture while still draining well. Soil that is too heavy or contains too many stones can cause the roots to become bent, cracked, or unable to develop properly. Here, I am mixing 50% clean soil, 30% well-rotted organic compost, and 20% coconut coir or carbonized rice husks. This mixture provides nutrients while keeping the soil airy and moist enough for the self-watering system. Keep in mind that the growing medium should only fill about 2/3 of the crate's height. Leave some empty space at the top so that more soil can be added around the plants during the later stages of growth. Next, I spread a very thin layer of well-rotted cow manure over the surface as a base fertilizer. This provides the plants with initial nutrients without making the growing medium too concentrated. Finally, I lightly cover it with one more layer of soil. Did you know that radishes are not only grown for harvesting, but can also help improve the soil in your garden? Their strong roots can penetrate compacted soil layers, creating more spaces for air and water to travel deeper into the ground. Now, everything is ready. So let's start planting together. I will sow the white radish seeds directly into the soil. Scatter them evenly. Keep a reasonable distance between the seeds and avoid sowing them too densely. Sowing the seeds directly into the soil allows the main root to grow straight in one fixed position. After sowing, I will cover the surface with a layer of straw. This helps prevent the seeds from being washed away during watering while keeping the temperature more stable so the seeds can germinate more evenly. Finally, I water the surface to provide moisture and create suitable conditions for the seeds to germinate. After 5 days, the radish seeds have germinated. The stems are still small and thin, and each seedling has developed about 2 cotyledon leaves. At this point, I will remove the weak seedlings and those growing too close together, leaving enough space for the remaining plants to receive sufficient light, water, and nutrients. After 10 days, the radish plants may reach about 2 inches tall and begin producing their first true leaves. Because some seeds germinated later and caused uneven growth, I will thin them for a second time, removing the weaker plants and keeping the strongest ones at a suitable distance from each other. It also helps keep the garden bed well ventilated, reduces excess moisture, limits fungal diseases, and prevents damage to the roots when the plants grow larger. Without thinning, the plants will compete with one another, resulting in weak leaves and roots that are often small or misshapen. After 20 days, you can clearly see how much the radish plants have changed compared with 10 days ago. They now have more green, true leaves, and the leaf blades have grown larger. The stems are sturdier, the foliage is beginning to spread outward, and the roots beneath the soil are entering the swelling stage. To prevent competition for nutrients, I will thin the plants one more time, leaving only the 7 to 10 strongest plants in each crate. I have prepared cow manure and rice husks here in a 50-50 ratio. I mix them thoroughly and apply a thin layer around the base of the plants to provide additional nutrients and keep the soil well aerated. I do not place the mixture directly against the stems. At this stage, the plants need plenty of nutrients to support root development. Finally, I add another layer of soil around the base of the radishes. This covers the portion of the roots beginning to rise above the soil, helps retain moisture, and prevents them from turning green or drying out because of light exposure. Even though the system already provides water from below, the radishes are growing quickly at this stage and need more water. For that reason, I still water the soil surface lightly to keep the upper layer moist, while also refilling the reservoir so the self-watering system can continue operating steadily. Have you noticed that the base has changed? At first, I used round supports, but they were quite unstable and could not hold the crates securely. So I switched to foam blocks that fit better, helping support the crates more firmly and keep them stable. After 40 days, the radish plants have developed further, especially the roots below the soil. As you can see, the white roots have begun to swell. And here as well. I can only clearly observe the radishes that are protruding above the soil surface. Removing old yellow leaves and those lying close to the soil helps improve airflow around the plants, reduces the risk of fungal disease, and prevents nutrients from being wasted unnecessarily. This allows the plants to concentrate more energy on developing the roots. You can make use of the radish leaves you have trimmed by feeding them to chickens or adding them to the compost bin. This way, the removed plant material can still be reused instead of being thrown away, helping reduce waste while creating an additional source of nutrients for the garden. At this point, I will hill the soil for the second time, gently covering the parts of the radishes that are protruding above the ground. I cover the exposed part of the radish completely with soil because I do not want it to come into contact with sunlight, turn green, or develop cracks on the upper portion. Finally, I water the surface once again. The self-watering system uses wicks to draw water from the reservoir into the soil, keeping moisture stable while reducing daily watering, evaporation, and soil or seed displacement. After 2 months, the radishes are almost fully developed. Their leaves have spread wide and become firm. The radish leaves are now quite old, turning dark green or beginning to yellow. So I will trim some of them away. Let's check how my radishes have turned out. They are now much larger than before. The roots are white, firm, and plump, while many others are still hidden beneath the soil. One interesting thing is that not only the roots, but also the young radish leaves are edible. The leaves have a slightly spicy taste and can be used in stir-fries, soups, or salads. Radishes also grow very quickly. When exposed to excessively hot weather or left in the ground for too long, the plants may begin flowering, causing the roots to become fibrous, spicier, and less crisp. I think it is time to harvest them. Here is the first one. It does not look bad, does it? Harvesting radishes is very simple. I just grip the leaves close to the base and gently pull the roots straight out of the soil to avoid breaking the leaves or damaging the radish. I will pull up the next one. Perhaps because the height of the crate was limited, the root could not grow farther downward. Instead, it expanded sideways and became slightly curved. This one has quite an interesting shape, doesn't it? After a little while, without spending too much time or effort, I have finished harvesting these radishes. Let's take a look at the results after 2 months of care. What dishes do you usually make with radishes? I often roast them with butter, olive oil, and herbs such as rosemary or thyme. They taste wonderful and pair very well with grilled meat or other main dishes. Now I will gather them together, wash them thoroughly, and take them into the kitchen. You can also preserve radishes by washing them, slicing them thinly, and drying them in the sun until they are completely dry. Then, store the dried radish in an airtight bag or a clean jar and keep it in a cool, dry place for later use. I will also show you more clearly how the roots developed inside this self-watering system. Can you see them? The roots grew deeply through the bottom of the crate and followed the absorbent wick strips downward. Now, let's move on to the second method of growing radishes, using discarded plastic bags, and compare the results with the first method to see how they differ. Please keep following along with me. I am reusing plastic bags measuring 12 by 16 inches. Next, I fill each bag with soil. As you can see, the soil is quite dry at the moment, but don't worry, I will add water until it reaches the necessary moisture level. I place the bags on a wooden rack above the ground. This helps keep them stable, prevents the soil from shifting, improves drainage, and reduces direct contact with dirty water, pests, and diseases from the ground. Just like in Method 1, I will sow the seeds directly into the bags. I use my hand to scatter the radish seeds evenly across the soil surface, trying to keep them spaced out and distributed as evenly as possible so the seedlings do not grow too densely. Here, I have prepared 8 soil-filled bags, which is more than the number of crates, isn't it? After sowing, I cover the seeds with a very thin layer of soil. This helps keep the seeds in contact with the soil, maintain moisture, and prevent them from drying out or being washed away during watering. The soil layer should not be too thick because radish seeds are small and may have difficulty germinating if buried too deeply. I mist the surface with water to maintain moisture without causing the seeds to gather together or wash out of position. You can still start the seeds in trays when you need better control over the seedlings, but it is best to use deep cell trays, so 1 to 2 seeds per cell, and transplant them very early, when they have only about 1 to 2 true leaves. Plastic bags do not drain very well, so I will make several small holes in the bottom and around the lower part of each bag. After 3 days, the first radish sprouts have begun to appear. At this stage, the plants are still very small, with thin stems and only 2 separated cotyledons. No true leaves have formed yet. After 1 week, the radish seedlings have emerged quite evenly and covered the soil surface with green growth. The plants are now about 1 inch tall. Each seedling is still small and thin, mainly with 2 round light green cotyledons, while the true leaves have not yet developed clearly. After 10 days, the radish plants have grown noticeably taller, with stems reaching up to 2 inches. The leaf stalks are longer, and the first true leaves are beginning to appear in the center. The foliage is greener, the plants are standing more upright, and their stronger growth shows that the roots below are gradually becoming established. This is also a suitable time to begin thinning. I will remove the plants growing too close together and keep the healthiest ones with straight stems and green leaves, leaving about 2 to 3 inches between each plant. The weaker seedlings will be pulled out, and each bag should contain only the 8 to 10 strongest plants. After thinning, I add a thin layer of soil around the base of each plant to help keep the stems upright, cover any exposed roots, and allow the soil to fit more closely around the base. This layer also helps maintain moisture and creates better conditions for the radishes to continue growing straight and steadily. Radishes prefer sunlight and grow best when they receive about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight each day. I will place the growing bags in a well-ventilated location, preferably where they can receive morning sunlight. After thinning, I water lightly to help the soil settle again. After 30 days, the radish plants have developed into dense clusters of green foliage. The true leaves are longer and have expanded noticeably. The leaf stalks are stronger. The canopy nearly covers the opening of each bag, and the roots below are entering the swelling stage. I will remove the weeds growing around the plants. They compete with the radishes for water, sunlight, and nutrients, so they should be pulled out while still small. Be careful and work gently to avoid damaging the roots that are forming the radishes. At this point, I notice that the plants do not have enough space to develop. Therefore, I will remove another 2 to 3 radish plants, especially those growing too close together. After that, I hill the soil mixed with compost around the base of the plants once again. After 40 days, the weeds are growing quite quickly, so I need to remove them to prevent competition for water and nutrients. This is the stage when the plants are concentrating on developing their storage roots. As you can see, the part of the radish near the soil surface has begun to swell noticeably, showing that root formation is progressing well. The plants still need plenty of nutrients. So I will provide some additional nourishment using bananas. I prepare 2 ripe bananas, cut them into thin slices, and bury them in the center of each bag, away from the base of the plants. Bananas decompose fairly quickly, so they will add some organic matter and potassium to the soil, supporting root development. Finally, I cover them with a thin layer of soil. These radish plants look very green and healthy, don't they? Caring for them does not take too much of my time. From this point on, I only need to monitor the moisture, remove weeds when necessary, and allow the plants to grow naturally for a little longer before harvesting. Finally, I add more water to maintain soil moisture. At this stage, the radishes need a steady water supply so the roots can continue swelling, but the soil must not remain waterlogged. After 70 days, the moment I have been waiting for has finally arrived. The radish leaves are now quite old, with some turning yellow and beginning to droop. By looking at the roots protruding clearly above the soil, I can see that they have swollen and developed quite well. This is a sign that the radishes are ready to harvest. Look at the white radish right in front of us. It is quite large, isn't it? I will trim away the old leaves and those lying close to the ground so the roots are easier to see. Some radishes are still hidden in the soil, while others are protruding well above the surface. I gently brush away the surrounding soil to check the size and development of each one. Their sizes are quite even, aren't they? This one looks large, so I will pull it up and show you. Harvesting radishes from these plastic bags is quite simple, isn't it? Look at this one. It is very long and clearly stands out from the others growing in the same bag. Perhaps it grew all the way down to the bottom of the plastic bag. This one is similar. From what I can see, radishes grown in plastic bags appear to grow longer than those grown in crates. Do you notice the same difference? It seems that each bag contains 1 or 2 radishes that grow this long, while the others growing around them are shorter. These results have exceeded my expectations. How would you compare the yield and quality of radishes grown in plastic bags with those grown in crates? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. I will cut off all the leaves at the top. Keep only the roots and take them away to be washed clean.